Hey everybody, and welcome to another Cricut craft tutorial. Before we get started, make sure you subscribe to my channel. It's totally free, and I put out new videos on Wednesdays and Saturdays with the occasional bonus live video. Today we're going to talk about Cricut Design Space tips, tricks, and hacks. These are going to make your crafting go a lot faster and make your life a lot easier. After doing this for well over 2 years, I have found some great tips and tricks to help you learn how to use Design Space and to use Design Space in just a little bit different way so that you can save yourself some time. So let's get over to Design Space so I can show you all of the fun tips, tricks, and hacks. Removing grid lines is a super easy thing to do and very helpful. So right now I have it on so that it is showing me the inches and the quarter inches in my grid. But you can easily change this just by clicking up here where there's this empty box between the two zeros. And you can go from just the tons of grid to a small grid of just the inches, or you can go and click again and have no grid at all. Super helpful, easy tip to use, especially if you want to take a screenshot of something. If in Design Space you want to change from inches to centimeters or from centimeters to inches, it's very easy to find. You're going to go up here to these three lines, click on those, and go down to settings. In the settings, you can change your grid. You can also change from imperial to metric, and you can also change for the saving for offline from the cloud and computer to just the cloud only. If you ever need to just zoom in on a design and you don't want to change the size of your design, down here in the lower left-hand corner, it's hard to see, is this little zoom tool. You can zoom in just by clicking the plus button, and you can zoom out by using the minus button. Very handy tool to have, super easy to use, but very important. That way you don't have to resize your designs to get a closer look. If you ever need to make multiple copies of the same item, rather than duplicating it on your canvas, we're going to show you how to do it just in the Make It screen. So we'll go ahead and click on Make It, and right up here at the top in the upper left-hand corner, it says Project Copies. You just need to select however many you want. We're going to just go ahead and make 7 of them. Click Apply, and it's going to put all of your designs on the same mat. An easy way to save on some vinyl and space is to be able to move items on your mat. You can easily move your items. So let's say that we don't have a long piece of vinyl for this. We have more of a short piece. So what we're going to do is take our design. You just click on it. That's all you have to do. And you just drag it to where you want it to sit. So you can absolutely do that. And this is great if you have a strange shaped piece of vinyl that you want to cut on and you don't want to waste vinyl. The other thing is too, let's say that we have a little bit of a rectangle up here, and then we have another rectangle that goes down this side, but it's a little bit thinner. You can absolutely take, and with this little circle right here, just grab that and you can turn your design so that it will fit over here. And you can absolutely do that to help fit items onto maybe an odd shaped piece of vinyl, scrap vinyl that you have, and you can easily do this. If you wanted to rotate it this way, it doesn't matter. You can rotate it however you would like. It's very easy to do, and it's going to save you with some of those scraps and strange shaped pieces. If you're working with a new material for the first time, or maybe you've just changed your blade, I always recommend doing a test cut. They're very simple to do, and it really makes a huge difference. I'll just take a simple square, and I'll size it down to just a little bit under 1 inch. Click on Make It, and I tend to like to put mine down towards the bottom if it's a full sheet, but you can also just do it right at the top. Just remember that when you go to cut your actual design, you may need to move your actual design a little bit to avoid the square, but that's usually why I will put it down in one of the lower bottoms. And all you do is just click it to move it. Click on Continue, and then you would choose your material and see how it cut. If you need to change it up, you can easily just move the square over a little bit on your mat by clicking on Edit, and you can see where your square is and just slide it over a little bit. Click Done and choose a new material. One of the things I love is taking basic shapes and turning them into something else. One of the things that's easy to do is to make flower petals with your basic shapes. Simple one to do is just to take a heart and a square, and all you need to do is resize them and stretch them out and play with them a little bit. So we're going to unlock our heart. We're going to make it a little bit wider and taller. We're going to take our square and we'll just weld it to the bottom of our heart. And you just select both items and click on weld, and there you go. You have a flower petal. You can mess around with these, do any kind of different designs that you want, but you just learn to play around with some of the shapes, and you can make lots of different other things with them. And if you didn't like the way this was sized, you could easily add a third petal to this just by going like this, add that third little petal, and weld them. So there you go. You can do a lot with these. Flower petals are one of my favorite. Did you know that you can actually make your own custom material settings? We're going to use our flower petal, and we will cut this out a little bit differently. Over here under the three little dots, you can click on that, and you want to go to Manage Custom Materials. You're going to need to select your machine. Because I have both, it always asks me which one I'm going to set my custom material for, and we are going to set it for our maker. What we want to do is scroll all the way down to the bottom, and right here you can add a new material. Click on Add New Material, and you're going to make a name for your new material. So let's just let's go with Neon Poster Board. You're going to click on Save, and it's going to bring it up to where it would be in the alphabetical order. Now, I will say before choosing a custom material, it's best to try some of the regular settings and kind of figure out what's close. But let's say that our neon poster board's pretty thick, and we found that this pressure is pretty close to what we need, but we needed to cut 3 times, and we wanted to cut with our deep point blade. Now, I will say sometimes if you change the blade last, it will change everything back. So always try to change the blade first. So we'll go ahead and do that, and we want it to cut 3 times. All you do now is go ahead and click on Save, and you will now have Neon Poster Board. If you eventually decide you no longer need this setting, you can click on Edit, and you can just simply delete it. It's going to ask if you want to delete this custom material, and you can just say yes, and it's totally easy and gone. Another great hack I love is to be able to cut the design all on one mat, but still using the different colors. So what we'll need to do is ungroup our design really quickly, and we can either use Color Sync, or you can go up to the top and make sure that you choose the other color that is involved. And what we'll do is click on Make It. Now it's going to tell us that it's all one color, but what we'll do is we'll cut out a properly sized piece of vinyl for this part in the color we want. And then this one, I tend to put these down in the bottom corner, and then I'll put another piece of vinyl properly sized for this cut in the color I would like in this one. That way it'll cut both of them in just one fell swoop. Once you've chosen your material, right under where it tells you what material you've chosen, there's a pressure option. You have default, more, or less. Sometimes depending on the item that you are using, and in this case it's a light cardstock, I may need to use a little less pressure if I have a brand new blade, or I might need to use a little more pressure if it's just a little bit thicker than a 65-pound cardstock. I always recommend doing a test cut before you cut a large project to help you know if you need more or less, or if default pressure is good enough. A great way to save yourself a little bit of time when choosing your materials is to choose your favorite materials, and most of us will probably only use about 3 or 4 of them all the time. What you'll do is hover over the material that you like, and you're just going to click on this little star. That's going to add it to your favorites, and you can add as many favorites as you would like, but these ones are the ones that I use most often. If you don't see a favorite that's listed in here, you can just go to Browse All Materials, and you'll do the same thing where you will hover over it, and you can easily just click on the star, and it will save it as a favorite material. The next time that you come back, all of your favorites will be shown in your list rather than just the populars. One of my favorite hacks is using a template so that I know the space that I'm working with and can design my item to fit within that space. We're going to use this polar bear, and we are going to use her, and we'll put her on a picture frame. So what we'll do is we'll just use a simple square, and I know that my picture frame is an 8.5 by 11 frame. What we'll do first is unlock it, which is this little lock button down in the lower left-hand corner. And we are going to go up here where it says size, and we know that it is 8.5 inches wide. And I'll pull this over a little bit, and then we can do the height at 11 inches. This helps you so that you know how big you can make your bear. The one thing that we'll need to do is slide this to the back. So just right click on it, click send to back, and then you can grab your polar bear and move her over and then size her to fit within your frame. You may want to make sure that you have locked her if you don't want her to get any wider. And simple as that, you can fit your design into whatever you are making. A great tool that Cricut has come up with is the Color Sync tool. Now we're using this little polar bear, and you can see that her snowflakes are different colors than her scarf. But I would like to cut them all in the same color so that they look nice and neat. There's a couple ways to do it. One way is that you can select your item and then go up here and try to guess which of these colors would be the same color as her scarf. That can sometimes be hard, especially if you have colors that are very similar in shade when you download an SVG. Color Sync will make this very, very easy for you. What it does is it shows you each of your items under the color that it is designed for. So you can see this is her scarf, and all of her snowflakes are different colors. I'd like them all to be the same color. So all you have to simply do is click on the color or the design and just drag it into the same color frame as the item. You want them all to be the same color. And now when you go to make it, you'll see that all of those are going to be on the same color mat. If you ever want to rotate your items, you can absolutely use this arrow, and it rotates a ton of different ways. But if you want it to try to stay super straight, what you can do is hold the Shift key on your keyboard, and it will, instead of rotating very strangely, it will rotate in certain clicks so that you can rotate your design in a more controlled axis. It's very handy to have, very easy to use. If you'd like to move your item on the screen, you can just click it and drag it. But there's another little trick that will help. You can actually just use the arrow keys on your keyboard to move your design. So if you have to move it just a little smidge, it's a little bit easier to do when you're using the keys. You can see that it moves in just little ticks instead of when you try to move it with the mouse where it doesn't flow quite as smoothly. Another really handy tip is if you have a design and you need to move something to the front, rather than trying to click on it if it's already in the back, which is really hard to do, to click send to front, over here in the layers tab, you can just click on it and drag it above the other two pieces, and you can easily just move it to front, and you can do that with any of the design that you have, so you can absolutely move them around and have them in whatever order you want just by clicking and dragging them. It's really easy to do. You just want to make sure that you release it when it has the little, when it's not showing the little, I'm trying to get it to show for you guys, the little no sign. That no sign shows up sometimes. It's really hard to find, but you just want to make sure that you are clicking it in the right spot. Align is one of the most helpful tools I have found in Cricut. I have used many different kinds of the Align, and they're very, very helpful because it's very hard to get this exactly straight and exactly where you want it. So let's say we want all of the bottoms of our stars to match up. What we're going to do is select our design, and you can see that they're very off. All you need to do is go up to Align, and you can just click on Align Bottom, and all of our stars are now aligned. There's a bunch of different types of align that you can do. I will show you a couple other ones. You can do one like this, where you take all your different stars, and maybe we're gonna kind of center them like this. They're totally pretty close to centered, actually, which is kind of shocking for me. But you can center them horizontally, and they'll be perfectly centered. You can center them vertically, where they will all match up together. You can do all sorts of different types of centering and aligning, and it just helps give you a nice, even look and professional design. Text can be kind of a pain to work with, but I'm going to show you a couple of really easy ways to work with it. So we're just going to use a couple of names, and what I do is I'm going to put an enter between each one of these names, and what that does is it gives it each its own separate line. I'm going to do the advanced, and I'm going to ungroup it to lines. Here's the beauty to ungrouping to lines. You can now change the font for each of your names individually, which I love. I think that makes it so much easier. You can work with them completely differently, and you're able to change the fonts without too much hassle. And I think it just makes it a lot easier to work with. And then you can just do what you want to do with each of your individual words. This works great if you're typing out a phrase and you maybe want one word to stand out And it's really easy because then you can take your names or your words and you can just align them a lot easier by just selecting your names. And I need to select Chevy, but I'm going to select Star. And you can just align them and you can center them horizontally. You can do this where it's going to center them all together. I don't know why you'd want to, but you could. So there's a lot of options, but it just makes it a little bit easier to work with each individual word rather than trying to work with an entire set of words. I hope you guys had a great time learning some Design Space tips, tricks, and hacks with me today. I hope you learned some new things. If you guys have any great tips or tricks or hacks that were not included in this video, leave those in the comments below. I always love to learn a new trick and tip, so if you've got any, I would love to hear them. Make sure you subscribe to my channel. I put out new videos on Wednesdays and Saturdays. Be sure to hit that bell icon. That will let you know when I post a new video. I hope you guys have a wonderful day and happy crafting.